so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful life. Give yourself some round of applause. You're so lovely.
Just a quick recap for anybody that didn't watch it. Long story short, Louis C.K. very casually was saying the word nigga and unapologetically mentioning the fact that it's a part of his dialogue. And it seemed like on stage and off stage. And he received no pushback from Chris Rock. The only pushback he got was from Jerry Seinfeld. But a lot of people had strong feelings, both about the usage of the word and about the way that Chris Rock reacted to them using it. So that's just a quick recap.
Big problem I had was when Chris Rock was saying, you know, he's the most black person that I know. Like, he embodies all the negative aspects of black people. Now, he didn't say he acts like a nigga. He said he first said he embodies all the negative aspects of black people. I really didn't like that, because I know before in Chris Rock's acts, he made a distinction between black people and niggas. But it just kind of struck me that instinctually, when he was trying to describe Louis C.K., he said he embodies all the negative aspects of black people. He didn't say nigga initially. And then the fact that Louis C.K. was completely unapologetic about it. That kind of shocked me a little bit. I thought he would at least try to contextualize the way that he used the word. But he didn't. He just kind of, without any type of apprehension, just talked about him using the word casually. So that really upset me. And by the way, I have to say, I think Louis C.K. is a very funny comedian. He's one of the few comedians that can make anything funny, except that word for me.
We had a similar experience with Louis C.K. because I was surprised the first time I heard it in his act, specifically because of the way he used it. And even knowing that, seeing that clip was even more jarring, because it was a very, very dismissive, cavalier attitude about saying the word from someone who you know for a fact is an extremely thoughtful person. So at any given time, he's completely aware of all the negative implications and underlying history of it. He's not a person who could throw his hands up and say, I didn't realize it. I mean, this is one of the most thoughtful comedians out there, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
So the fact that he would choose to do that and do it in that reckless a way, that kind of disregard is hard for me to just dismiss as a comedic choice. I think it's a window into who you are, or at least into key aspects of your philosophy, because he said a lot of other things that I appreciated him saying, you know, including speaking about white privilege, other things. But all those things can just be intellectual exercises. It doesn't have to mean that you actually value another group of people. The Chris Rock thing is another conversation, because you can't allow, in my opinion, any grown man to say anything. People can say what they want. People can say, I tell people all the time, you can say all the niggas you want to. You're just going to have to deal with all the consequences of saying it. Depending on your company, the consequence might be getting punched in the mouth. Depending on if you're a public figure, it could be being ostracized or boycotted or anything like that. So you can say what you want. I can't tell a grown person what to or what not to say.
It just goes to show you sometimes complexity can be a very disappointing thing, because you can have a person like Chris Rock that, in my opinion, I think he is for black people, but at the same time, he can have a white friend that he condones letting say the word nigga.
Yes. Again, the main word I would use is disappointment, because I do disagree with people who feel like, well, he's the most at fault. It's like, listen, if you know any non-black person that broaches the subject of whether they can say nigga, to quote Dave Chappelle on Chappelle's Show, if they asking you that question, that nigga say nigga a lot. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody's requesting or they want to have a discussion, you know, or some kind of intellectual tete-a-tete about the merits of the word nigga, it's an active part of their vocabulary. They whip that one out, you know, whenever they need to. You better believe that. So they're not waiting for you to sanction their use of the word. You know what I mean? That's in the tool belt, baby. You know what I mean? That hammer's already got a bunch of dings and stuff in it. It get used all the time.
Even if it's only used within the confines of their own mind, they use it a lot. It's definitely very tempting if they're asking you that question. There's something that's really enticing about that word if they're asking it.
So The question was for non-black people using the N-word. Is it one? Is it A? Yes, it's okay to say it. It's just a word. B, sometimes it depends on the intent. Or C, never. Never under any circumstances. It's always off limits. So that's the question.
Well, you said when people say it's just a word, I'm kind of tired of hearing that it's just a word. Words are simply the representatives of ideas. So it's not just a word. It's something that is supposed to convey a thought. You know, the word is just the means for that. It just ushers you to a thought, the word. So we can't just say it's just the word. You know, we're trying to communicate what we think, what we feel. Words are just the utensil of it, so to speak. I would lean toward never. But, for instance, if a non-black person is actually talking about the word and they say it in a sense of, okay, if someone says the word nigger, you know, if they can just leave it at that, sometimes I can take it. But even in that context, it's a little hard for me to palate.
Yes, but because we're being general, I'm going to go ahead and say C, never, because the distinction you just made, I think, is more of a technical thing. I think if we mean in a broader sense of the word, like if the sometimes involves because I want to rap a song or it's part of my stand-up, then that still goes in the never category for me. You know, right. You're talking about just the framing of a question or somebody's reading Huck Finn in class or something. That's different. I'm talking about in your word usage, in the lexicon that you choose to wield at any given time, purely of choice. I'm saying never, including your stand-up. Yeah. And again, and mind you, me saying never is not attacking your free speech. I'm talking about what's acceptable to me. Again, you can do what you want. You know, you can yell fire in the theater if you want. You're just going to go to jail. You know what I mean? So if you want to say nigga, I can't stop you. That's your free speech. But you asking me in terms of how I look at a person and being a decent person, no. I have a zero tolerance for it. And for sure, the fact if you want to argue with me over whether or not you can say a word that disparages me, that tells me way more to me than you actually calling me a nigga, truthfully.
I hate to be nebulous about it, but let's say it can't actually be nebulous just because of the variety of different contexts in which it can be used. I'd rather say never now and then deal with the exceptions later. So I'm going to say never.
I can't say it any better. I agree.
Yeah, because I feel like that needs to be the rule. Because I think if we go, if we're not definitive on that rule and we give a little bit of leeway for usage, people are going to take that leeway. They're going to take that inch and go a mile.
Come on now. If you crack that door, they're going to hit the hole like Adrian Peterson in his prime, man. They're taking it to the house, baby. Every time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I can say it sometimes. They're going to break down all the nuances of that sometimes. That sometimes is going to turn into all the time, quickly.
You know, that word to people is mentally just too delicious. They see that inch, they see the Grand Canyon. It's like, now you should, as soon as you say that.
Yeah. You show them the most beautiful, cool, inviting body of water, and they about to hit a cannonball into it. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Oh, I can say it sometimes.
I'm going to take it a step further. I don't care if you know, I'm a pretty dark-skinned dude. I don't care if you halfway purple. If you calling me nigga with the same type of racist, hurtful intent as any pale white person, I don't want you saying that to me either. We want to pretend as though we've redefined this term, but we've only appended the definition. We haven't changed it.
No, I agree, because that's a word because of the power in the history. We did legitimately add some things to the word. We added some things because there are forms of affection that you clearly intend when you use it to another black person, because that affection is born of shared struggle. It's like there's a commonality in the harshness of the way we've had to suffer on the other end of it. So then we can share this moment and this word together. So we added something, but we didn't take any of the degradation away. None of the pain, none of the hatred, none of the dehumanization, none of that was taken out of the word, even when we added something to it. So I agree with you. You can still use it in that way. But straight up though, if you're not black, if your mother or your father isn't black or don't identify as black, I am not your nigga.